Hey there, winners, and welcome to the Winning Play Podcast. I'm Drew James. I'm here with my co-host for the day, producer Rob Hugh. He's stepping in for Kendall Caps, who is on the DL with COVID. And we are here to break down Week 1 NFL fantasy, NFL betting, NFL picks, everything you need to know about Week 1. You're going to get it here. How you doing today, Rob? It's our first time getting you in front of the camera here. He's usually behind the boards.
I have a little pregame jitters, but I'm ready to go. We got a lot of stuff to go through, and I'm excited to do it.
And Rob, you've been playing fantasy for how long?
At least a decade, man. Going back through college, and I just found out that some of these leagues started in like 1993, which is mind blowing to me. But I feel like I've been doing it for a while.
Time. I love it. And you are from Florida, but you're disappointingly not a Dolphins fan.
Disappointing, yes. But yeah, no, I wanted to keep my homerism loud and proud, So yeah, I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan and a Florida Gators fan.
Love it. All right. Well, without any further ado, let's break into our year-long picks here. Since we haven't had you on, give me your MVP for the 2023 season.
Sure. So obviously, all of these picks, you can't shoot for injury. You can't predict any of those things. So I have for MVP, I got Joey B, man. Cool Joe Burrow. I think that offense is going to go humming. Burrow, T in his last contract year, Jamar. I see a lot of things for them. I don't necessarily have them going all the way, but as we've seen before, that MVP is a regular season trophy. So I definitely have them shooting for it.
I like your pick. I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes. He's already got 2, 3, but only 3 guys have won an MVP over the last 6 years. He's had it twice, Lamar's had it twice, and A-Rod's had it twice. So I do think Mahomes can pick up his third MVP this year. If his stats go up now that he's got some new wide receivers, I think if he does it right, he could take home the three-peat and the third-time MVP, which would be pretty impressive in my book. So that's exciting. Well, let's start at the bottom then. What about division winners? Let's talk about each division here. Who you like to win each division and, who might disappoint. Let's start over in the AFC, going with the AFC North. You got Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. Who are you taking?
So I'm going to ride with my MVP. I would doubt that MVP wouldn't win the division in that year. So I have the Bengals pulling it off, and you'll see I have the Ravens in another category coming up as well. So I got the Bengals kind of pulling out there and doing their thing on the offensive end, and I like their defense. I think that their defense is pretty spunky. It's got some real bite to it. I like Trey Hendrickson there, and I think they're doing a lot of things on the back end with the secondary there too. So I like them overall.
I like that too. I think if Burrow stays healthy, they could be a Super Bowl contender if they can get past the Chiefs.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's move over to the AFC West then. That's obviously Kansas City's division. Do you think the Chiefs hold it down again?
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty easy one. The Raiders are still, maybe a couple years away. They have some pieces there, but they're a couple years away. And then the Chargers, I think, they're just missing a little firepower on the offensive end. The defense is still a question mark. And I like the Broncos' future. I do like that. But, again, this is the Chiefs' division. And Mahomes isn't going anywhere. They maybe lost L'Jarius Sneed. But besides that, on the offense, they got a couple receivers there. And, what else can you say, man? It's Patty Mahomes.
That's 2 for 2 that we agree on. In the AFC AFC South, we've got Houston Texans and the Colts battling it out. You got the Titans kind of pulling up the rear, perhaps, and then you got the Jaguars kind of as this unknown quantity. Where do you think that goes this year?
Well, look, real quick, before I get to the winner on that, I did want to talk about the Jags just for a hot second. They were basically Jekyll and Hyde last year. They jumped so far out so fast. I think they were 8-3 at one point, and they were doing their thing. And then kind of similar to the Eagles, different circumstance, they fell apart at the end. I don't have them winning the division. I think the Texans have just done too much and have too much of a foundation there. So I have the Texans winning. But the Jags, I think they have a real opportunity to kind of surprise some people in that division and make it tough. There are actually 3 teams there that I think are going to be some tough outs for a lot of teams that year. Because I do like the Colts as well. I'm a Florida Gators guy, so I know Anthony Richardson. I do think, as tough as that team can be, I like what they do on the defense. They got Jonathan Taylor and stuff. I do think they're another year of just getting the time together. They haven't had a lot of time to play together, not a lot of continuity and stuff like that. So I do got the Texans.
I'm gonna go Jaguars on this. I think, like you said, they're Jekyll and Hyde. I think last year was rocky, but I think this year they can string more of it together. Maybe some better luck. That division was I think all 3 teams were tied last year at the end of the year. It was very neck and neck race. So I think this year the Jaguars pull it out. I do agree with you about the Colts being a year away, but I think the Texans also had some beginner's luck last year. They're going to have to really fight harder this year to have the same amount of success. Now in the AFC North, we talked, which one? Oh, the AFC East is the one we missed. We got the Dolphins, my favorite squad, trying to put it all together. We've got the Bills, who may have taken a step back, and then we've got the Jets with Aaron Rodgers that we've seen for 3 plays. We won't get into the Patriots here, but who are you taking to win the division?
So like I said, for these picks and stuff like that, same with my MVP, I'm not predicting injuries. So what happened last year with Aaron Rodgers on the third snap of the game, I mean, wow. That broadcast, never seen a stadium literally and physically deflate before. So I do have the Jets. I really, really like what they have going on over there. They have an amazing defense at all 3 levels. That D-line, the linebacker duo, and then obviously we know Sauce Gardner in that back end. For me, in order for this prediction to come through, I don't really need Aaron Rodgers to be the Hall of Fame legendary quarterback that we know. I just need him to be really good, and I think he still has that. We have Brees being the engine. I think he's a fantastic running back in real life and in fantasy. I think he can carry a significant load, and then we have Garrett Wilson, and he hasn't had a chance to truly shine, especially in the touchdown department. And I don't think that's going to be a problem with Aaron freaking Rodgers there. So I like him coming back, and as long as he stays healthy, of course, because if Aaron Rodgers gets injured again, obviously that pick's different. I think I know where you'd go with that. The Dolphins, and we all love the street race team. We all love that speed. I see them in second place in the division. Absolutely.
Yeah, I like them to win it this year. I like our schedule. We don't have to play Buffalo at all the last 2 months of the season. Usually it feels like we're always ending our season in Buffalo in negative 30 degrees. We don't have those games this year. I think we played Buffalo twice the first 6 weeks and get them out of the way. But health is a big factor. Like you said, it's hard. If everyone's healthy, I think the Dolphins win this division. If we're talking about who's most likely to withstand all the injuries, I don't know. Who could say? But I'll take the Dolphins there. And then let's move over to the NFC. NFC East, I'm going with the Cowboys to repeat as the division winners for the first time in this division in about 20 years. I know Kendall would make sure to make me point that out. No team ever repeats as NFC East champions. I think the Cowboys are going to do it this year. I think the Eagles are going to revolt on their coach. I think the Giants and Commanders are either a bottom tier team or a year away. We'll see. But I'm going Cowboys.
I like the pick. I do. I mean, that division is always fun because it is a carousel. I just have the Eagles, man. I know that they went through the meltdown last year, and we know the quarterback and the coach aren't getting along right now. But I really believe that there's just too much talent on this team. I don't see how A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon don't put up numbers. They did lose Jason Kelsey. However, I think, he may not get 15 rushing touchdowns. Probably almost certainly won't. But I still think Jalen Hurts by himself, no matter who's in front of him, is probably the league's top 3 sneak QB. So, I still see that. And I also, I think Saquon's going to be able to cross that goal line a lot better than DeAndre Swift happened to last year. So I see a lot going on. I will say if there is a downfall, we've kind of seen a ceiling for Jalen Hurts' passing ability. He's a great quarterback overall, but Kellen Moore's scheme does rely heavily on the ability to be a true thrower and passer of the football. So that will be a test for Jalen, along with calling the protections and the added responsibilities that Jason Kelsey was doing last year.
All right. So what about the NFC North then? We've got the Detroit Lions really looked like a Super Bowl contender last year. The Packers look like they're knocking on the door. The Bears are a whole young, fire-powered offense now. The Vikings, nobody's expecting much with the backup quarterback, Sam Darnold, playing there. So what do you think there?
I just want to say, first of all, I love this division. I think this is going to be one of the most fun divisions in football. And I love that the Bears have finally think they found their quarterback. I mean, that franchise basically has never really had one. Jay Cutler is an awesome thrower of the football. But, I still, at the end of the day, though, I love what the Lions have done the last couple of years. I think they're Super Bowl ready. And as a Bucs fan that lost to them twice last year, that hurts me to say a little bit, but I am overall, if it can't be my Bucs, I am rooting for the Lions, and I think they take the division. You have the firepower. I think it's going to come down to Green Bay and the Lions. And I just think overall, as an overall team, the Lions, man, there's not too many glaring weaknesses anymore. Their defense is still going to be a little bit behind their offense, but I love that team, and not to mention, you want to talk about schedules. I mean, what they have 14 dome games or something. I mean, it's pretty absurd. So, I think they're gonna put up points in every game they're gonna be in. It's gonna be, can the other team keep up with them, basically.
Yeah, I'm taking them too. I'm taking them probably to go to the Super Bowl. We'll get to that in a minute here. In the NFC South, I'm taking the Falcons this year. It's kind of been a down division. The Bucs obviously won last year. I'm going with the Falcons. New coaching staff, new quarterback, a lot of weapons. Their defense it's picked up a lot of free agents this year. I think this is the year they kind of separate themselves from these teams as the one that might actually be ready to play in the playoffs. Are you taking your Buccaneers here, or what's the choice?
The Falcons, huh, man? I have to say, Ed too, Brutus. No, but I look. Like I said, I wear my homerism loud and proud, but I have a lot of research and understanding into why I am, in fact, picking the Buccaneers for this division. We're talking about the only team in the NFC that has won 3 times in a row their division, and they only got better on the offensive end. And the interior offensive line was the single worst unit on the team last year, and that got infinitely better with our first-round pick and some other pieces going in, guys going into year 2 as well. We have wide receiver and running back depth and things like that for the offense. So I really see us really taking it. And what I just want to say about that thing is, in the NFL, continuity means a whole lot. And we always love all the acquisitions and things like that. But our team has behind the Saints the most continuity in the division. I think that goes a long way.
All right. Well, that leaves us with the NFC West. I'm going Niners here. I think they're probably the best team in the league starting off. What about you?
So this is another division I really, really like. I'm going to go to the Niners. I don't know how you can't. But at the end of the day, I do love the competition between this and the NFC North. I'm really excited to kind of watch these two divisions duke it out over the years, because I think or over the season. I think there are some teams in this division and some teams in the NFC North that will challenge these top dogs.
I love it. Well, let's go further then. Give me your Super Bowl winner and your Super Bowl loser.
Okay.
How does it shake out?
So I think I think we're probably going to agree on the NFC, but I have a little AFC shakeup. So the Super Bowl winner I have the Lions doing it all. I think this is their true Super Bowl window. I don't see another team in a more obvious Super Bowl window besides the Chiefs with Pat Mahomes and things like that. But the Lions have just been surging. They've had great organizational moves. They've stuck with their coach. The team loves the guy, and they've had great draft after great draft, outside of consensus picks too, by the way. So that GM's doing a lot, the coach is doing a lot, and I love what they're putting together. And then as far as the loser, I have the Jets. I do have the Jets making it to the Super Bowl. Again, we're talking about this, no injuries included, but I have the Jets making it to the Super Bowl, AFC Championship, beating out the Chiefs. I just love what the Jets have around Aaron Rodgers. I think that they got the wide receiver one, the running back one, and then that defense. That defense is going to come out snarling now that they have a quarterback that can put up points. I think we're really going to see what this defense can do when they force other teams to pass the ball. So that's who I have.
So you got the Lions beating the Jets in the big game at the end of the year.
Yeah,
it's Rob's prediction.
It's a tough bet because not putting the Chiefs up there is hard to do, but.
Yeah, I'm also gonna have the Lions coming out of the NFC. Again, I thought about going with the Packers. I think the 49ers should be there. For some reason, I don't feel like it's their year. Maybe I feel like they've had too many shots, and you don't usually get that many shots in a row. But to contradict that, I'm going to say that the Chiefs beat the Lions in the Super Bowl, and they do take down the three-peat. I think we've talked before. I think last year was the year they should have lost. Everything still went wrong, and they still won. It's hard. No one's ever put together a three-peat. I think it's going to be really exciting, which is good for ratings. I'm not saying the games are rigged or anything, but I think the Chiefs and Taylor Swift are going to be there all the way to the end. And I think when it comes down to it, I'm not betting against Mahomes, somebody who's been there that much and showed what he can do. So I'm going to take the Chiefs to three-peat. Until things change, I'm not betting against them. But I do think, they'll take down the Lions, and that'll be plenty for Detroit fans. It's more than they've had to eat in a while, so let them digest. Well, let's move on to fantasy. Week 1. You can feel it in the air. Everybody's setting their lineups. Everybody's finishing up their drafts. Let's kick it off with our top 5 players of the week at each position, just to give our take on who we think is going to be the top fantasy performers this week. Let's start running back. My number 5 running back of the week, we'll go backwards, is Bijan Robinson on the Falcons. I know a lot of people have him higher. They're playing against Pittsburgh. I think he's going to have a great year. I want to see exactly how this Falcons offense works out before I'd move him higher. Number 4, I've got Breece Hall. You talked about him earlier. He's a stud. The only problem with him right now, he's playing against San Fran's defense. I don't know if I expect him to have his best game of the year week 1. Number 3, I've got Christian McCaffrey. Same problem. He's playing against the Jets defense. You just talked about how snarling the Jets defense is going to be, especially that first game. I know running back 3 is low for him, but I'm low on him this week. Right. Number 2, I've got Jahmyr Gibbs against the Rams. I think that is going to be a high-scoring game. I think he could get into the end zone a couple times. I think he's going to run the ball well. I think you're going to see a lot of touches for him now that he's 100%. So I'm really big on Jahmyr Gibbs. And then my number 1 for the week is Jonathan Taylor on the Colts, a guy that I think they are going to feed the ball to and could still grab a couple touchdowns against Houston in what again could be a high-scoring game. He's only had Anthony Richardson play with him for 2 snaps ever. He's back. So I'm really looking for Jonathan Taylor to take the lead this week. Who you got running back wise?
I'm with you on the Jonathan Taylor touches, by the way. Yeah, I absolutely believe that to support Anthony Richardson for sure through the year. Number 5, I have a guy that I see having a huge season. Maybe not everyone thinks this way, but he has an opportunity to finish in the top 5 RBs for me. It's Ken Walker. Seattle playing Denver. They got the rookie quarterback, and right now it's just Cameron Sutton, Greg Dulcich, and then some of those running backs for receiving options pretty much. So I see maybe the 4th quarter, maybe even into the 3rd quarter, it being more of a ground and pound game for the Seahawks as they build a lead. So I have him coming in at number 5. And then number 4, I'm with you. I have Jonathan Taylor there. some of these picks a little bit lower than you only because of touchdown opportunities. I don't necessarily see the Colts coming right out the gate, putting up 35. So I see the touches. I'm totally agreeing with you on all of that, the usage, all of that stuff. It'll just be a matter of touchdowns. Um, and then my third one is Bijan versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's got a nasty defense, so it was just hard not to put. I have these top three being Bijan, CMC, and Brees, but it was hard not to put these guys up there despite the defenses they're facing. I just think I think they're whether the team overall. I think the Falcons. I have them as one of my season-long disappointments for the year, just because there's so much lack of continuity and so much change there. But I think what's not going to change, no matter how cohesive they come out the gate, is Bijan's usage. I think, especially actually if it takes them some time to find their footing, they're going to feed Bijan in both the passing and the rushing game. So I have Bijan number 3 against a tough Pittsburgh defense. And then I have number 2 CMC and number 1 Brees. I just think the Jets defense both these guys are going to get top usage. They're both top dual threats as running back and stuff like that. I just think the Jets defense is a more complete defense than the 49ers overall. So I just put them there. It's really, to be honest with these guys, it's really a flip-flop for me. So I do have Brees number 1, CMC number 2, Bijan number 3, Jonathan Taylor number 4, and Ken Walker, my guy, at number 5.
All right. Well, let's go one by one through these receivers here. Who do you got your number 5 wide receiver?
So number 5, right out the gate, I'm gonna have a little bit of a surprise, and that surprise is gonna be I'm gonna have Mike Evans as a number 5 receiver of the week. Now, obviously, I'm a Bucs fan, so people may think that I'm showing the homer here too. But last year, Washington gave up the most points to fantasy wide receivers. They averaged giving up 28 points a game, over 470 points overall to wide receivers last year, and they didn't do much to improve their pass rush or their secondary. So, as great as Tom Brady is, and he is the GOAT, Patrick Mahomes has quite a bit to get there, in my opinion. But as far as chemistry, Baker and Mike's chemistry is perhaps the best that he's ever had in his career. Jameis's chemistry with him was good, but Baker's is even better. And I see a big year for Mike coming up again. So week 1, I have Mike number 5.
All right, I got CeeDee Lamb at number 5. Number 5 wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb. I know he's ranked number 1 for a lot of people. I don't know how much he's been practicing. I don't know how that game is going to turn out. I think he will be top 5, obviously, but I'm not willing to bet on him at my number 1 or 2 spot, again, of the week. And then going on up, my number 4 is Justin Jefferson, a guy I think is kind of low on people's radars. But if you watch him play last year with no quarterback at all, he's still going to score points. He is going to catch passes. Even if they're bad passes, he will find a way to bring it down. I'm not worried about it. What about for you for your number 4?
So I have CD number 4 for the exact reason you have him at number 5. I see him as wide receiver 1 or 2 a year. Coming out the gate, didn't practice as much during the preseason with the holdout. And also, he's just facing a really, really tough Cleveland secondary. So I see him as number 4. I couldn't leave him off the top 5, which is crazy because I left Justin Jefferson off the top 5. He was the guy I switched Mike out for. Only true, at least proven true quarterback proof wide receiver in the league right now for fantasy. But he is just outside my top 5. So number 4, I have CD.
All right. What about number 3?
So number 3, I had the Sun God, Amon-Ra, against the Rams. I think he's a safe bet right here in the top 5. You can move him anywhere up and down in the top 5. And they're gonna throw the ball to him. I mean, what can we say? Last year, he was just phenomenal. So stable, so productive. So I think they pick up right where they left off.
All right, my number 3, I am going Marvin Harrison Jr. against Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
I think Buffalo's secondary is very questionable. I think that game might be very high scoring. I think we might all get to see what Marvin Harrison Jr. can do, and I think it's going to be impressive to watch. And then my number 2 is agreeing with you, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to take him every day of the week, but especially in this game against the Rams. I think it has the highest over-under of any game. This game is going to be packed with points. I think Amon-Ra is going to have a lot of them. If he's on your team at this point, he's a start. Eyes closed, doesn't matter. But I have him as my wide receiver 2 this week. What about you, number 2?
Number 2, I have A.J. Brown. I think the Eagles are going to come out and no matter what Green Bay does or doesn't do, I think they're going to want to put up points and they're going to want to erase that taste in their mouth they had from last season. And all these guys, they hear the noise and stuff. They know that everyone's talking about their meltdowns and their relationships and new Kellen Moore and stuff like that. So I have a feeling they're going to want to put up as many points as possible, even if Green Bay can't keep up with them, which they probably will. But I'm just saying, regardless of what Green Bay's doing, I just see the Eagles wanting to just make a statement with week 1. So I have A.J. Brown coming out hot as my wide receiver 2.
I love it. What about wide receiver 1? Who's your top guy this week? Who's taking down the W for your team no matter what?
Got to pick the cheetah, man. I got Tyreek Hill. Jacksonville, I just don't think they got the guys for it. So I see Miami's offense doing their thing overall against the Jacksonville defense. So I got Tyreek Hill at that wide receiver 1. I think he puts up the triple digits and maybe even 2 scores. I think it's a big game for him.
I am right with you. Tyreek Hill is my number 1. I think they are going to spread the ball around more this year. I don't know if that happens in this first game. I think they're going to feed Tyreek, and I think this might be one of those games where he goes nuts. So, yeah, moving on. Tight ends. I've got Dalton Kincaid as my number 5 tight end. Playing Arizona. Again, a game I think is going to be chock full of points. Josh Allen has to throw to somebody. I think it's going to end up being Dalton Kincaid, especially near the goal line. So he's my number 5. How about you?
Yeah, Kincaid's a good one. I have him somewhere on the list too. For number 5, though, I have Mark Andrews. This is a guy, again, with these top 5s, especially with tight ends. I mean, I kind of start with who I think is going to be in that grouping anyway. And tight ends are so up and down and stuff, so you can move all these guys up and down. But, Mark Andrews, what can we say? Talent on the field, he's amazing. I think the one thing about him is he starts off so hot and then consistently kind of cools off near the end of the year, whether that's injuries or production otherwise. But I have him as top 5 over Kansas City. He's Lamar's security blanket, and he always has been. They got Zay Flowers, they got Derrick Henry, and then they have Mark Andrews. That's the outside of Lamar, that is the offense. So I love him here. I think he's going to do well. Enough said.
All right. My number 4 tight end, Travis Kelce versus Baltimore. He's going to score a touchdown. He's going to get his catches. He's pretty consistent. Obviously, they're playing a good defense. I will say, and this goes for a lot of my other rankings too, I don't love playing guys in that opening night game. It's always weird. I think last year there were 6 drops or like all kinds of things break off in weird ways. I don't trust it. And then I always end up changing my lineup on Thursday to play everyone in the Thursday night games just to have someone to root for. So I have Kelce a little lower maybe because of that, but he's my number 4. What about you?
Number 4, I've got Laporta. I've got Sam Laporta. He's gonna get his targets, and I see him getting another stack this year overall, and I think he starts right off the gate. The Rams, they didn't keep Ernest Jones, their linebacker, so I think Laporta is gonna run havoc in that intermediate part of the field. And what can we say about the guy? Rookie year, had an incredible rookie year. So second year, again, with this Lions team, I think they're just ready. I don't think they're going to have a slow start like some of these other teams and stuff like that. I think we're going to see a lot of the same things we saw last year.
Yeah, I have him next as my number 3 tight end. All the same reasons. So what about, give me your number 3.
So number 3, I have Uri Dalton Kincaid. There's a lot of moving pieces there. We don't know when Keon Coleman or if Keon Coleman's going to turn it on at some point as a rookie wide receiver. And then they got the Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel question marks. But the one thing that we know for sure is that Kincaid is going to get targets. had an underrated rookie year last year that was overshadowed by Sam Laporta's year. But Kincaid had a ton of targets and had a fantastic rookie year for a tight end, which until recently used to be non-existent for rookie tight ends, really. But now it feels like it's part of the game. So I have Kincaid getting a bunch of targets, and that Arizona defense is just not very good. I don't think it's going to be very good this year. So, I think he's going to get a ton of targets, and they're going to find a way to get him the football.
Yep, I'd agree. Well, I'm going number 2 on my list. Number 2 tight end is Trey McBride. Same game, other side. Again, I think the Cardinals are going to be able to do what they want with Buffalo through the air, and I think they're going to have to keep up. And I think Trey McBride's going to be a big part of that. So I'm going Trey McBride with my number 2. Who's your number 2?
I love Trey. I left him off my top 5, and it's just because I have some guys ahead of him for the first week. I think the Cardinals are going to be one of those teams that start a little slower than. I have them overall as an offense surprising people because I don't think people realize like how good they could be, but I do see them start a little bit slower. So I just left him off the top 5. For number 2, I have a guy I'm really big on this year. It's Evan Ingram. So I have him playing against Miami, and Miami is one of the worst fantasy defenses against tight ends. Last year they gave up one of the most points to tight ends, and I have until Brian Thomas really ascends, Evan Ingram is a guy, a real stud on the field, and he's going to get a ton of targets, and he's never really been a huge touchdown guy. But I actually see a positive regression happening for touchdowns for him, and I don't think the targets are going away. I had a little inside information, just in the sense of that they had a week of practices with my Bucks, so I was following those reports really closely, and he was just a menace on the field. They were targeting him everywhere. He was in the red zone work and things like that. I think there's a really continuing off of last year, another big year for Evan Ingram, so I have him at number 2.
Yeah, well, you've spoiled my number 1 for the week is Evan Ingram. So, yeah, I totally agree. I think the Dolphins' defense is better on the back end than it is over the middle, and I think he's going to get a lot of work in a high-scoring game. So my number 1 is Evan Ingram. Who's your number 1 tight end in that case?
I've got Taylor Swift's boyfriend. I have Kelsey. I have Kelsey there.
I've heard of him.
I think Baltimore's defense is going to take a little step back this year. And so for me, I don't think Kelsey and Mahomes need any time to get going. I think it's gonna be what we've seen for the last couple of years, and I think, like you said, he's gonna get his touchdown, he's gonna get his catches. So for me, I think they want to start off hot again this year and show what they can do. So I got him as number 1. And
Awesome. Well, all right. Well, let's do last but not least the quarterback position. Who's your number 5 quarterback going into the week?
So number 5, I have a guy that you're going to depend on for some of your earlier picks, and I have Kyler Murray coming in at number 5 against Buffalo. You talked about Buffalo's defense. I agree. I think that they're going to struggle on the defensive end. And when Kyler was playing last year, I mean, he was putting up MVP numbers. So I see a lot of I see some potential for this offense, and it's not really being talked about a lot. And I don't know what the team real life success is going to be because that defense is not so good. But I love their offensive pieces: Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, even guys like Dortch and heavy sleeper Michael Wilson, that wide receiver 2 on that team. But I think Kyler's gonna come out and do well against this Buffalo defense that really got a lot of pieces taken away from him over the last couple of years.
I like that. I'm gonna go number 5, Patrick Mahomes at Baltimore. Again, I lower him on the list. I don't like playing guys in Thursday night games. Can't take him off the list though. I mean, he's Patrick. So I've got him at number 5. Who do you got at number 4?
So number 4, I have our guy, Anthony Richardson. I just, when it comes to these top 5 guys, I want a dual threat most of the time, unless you're Patrick Mahomes. So they're gonna protect him to start off the gate, let him get into the season groove. It's gonna be RPOs, it's gonna be runs. I have no doubt if they get close to the end zone, they'll probably have him run into the end zone for a rushing TD, things like that. So I have coming in And also on the other end, Houston's going to put up points, so they're going to need to score, I think. So, I have him coming in at number 4 with that dual threat.
Sounds like a play to me. I've got number 4, Caleb Williams, the rookie in Tennessee against a defense I
Okay.
don't trust. I think Caleb Williams is going to ball out, add in a rushing touchdown. I really high on him this year, and I think it starts to show week 1. I think people are going to get pretty scared of him in a fantasy perspective.
I love taking that shot. I love taking that shot.
Who will be your next one?
Okay, so I have Josh Allen. I've talked about the Arizona defense a couple times. I don't think they're very good. I do think that Josh Allen's gonna have to show what he can do with so many targets being vacated over the time. And while I do believe their offensive coordinator is going to rely on James Cook and that running game far more than in years past, I do think that, especially with the defensive liabilities on that team as well, I think that this is going to be a heavy burden on Josh's plate in a different way than some of those years past where he was like the number 1 rusher and the passer. He's going to have to show that he truly evolved over his career as a passer, not just because Stephon Diggs was there. So I like him against this defense, though. All that being said, I like him against this defense coming out the gate, and because of that extra burden, whether that leads to real life success, it's Josh Allen, and there's going to be some fantasy numbers here. So I have him at number 3.
All right, my number 3 is Jalen Hurts. Playing Green Bay again, you expect it to be a little high scoring. You expect it to be close. And you expect him to get at least a rushing touchdown, if not 2, and maybe more. So I'm going Jalen Hurts. He's pretty much a lock-in your lineup at this point. So that's my number 3. Who would be your number 2?
So number 2, I got Patty Mahomes. I have your guy Jalen at number 1, but Patrick Mahomes, I'm not afraid to put him right up there in the top 3, even though it's a opening week 1 and Thursday night game and stuff like that. I just think he's any given game he's capable of three passing touchdowns and getting maybe like 30 yards on the ground and stuff like that. So I love him in this. Again, I have these kind of season-long projections, and again, I have Baltimore's defense taking a little step back. They were such a good defense last year, and I see they've lost some pieces, and it's tough to do what they did last year on the defensive end. So I think the Chiefs come out swinging, and Mahomes.
All right, and my number 2, I'm going Anthony Richardson. Again, game I think is going to be high scoring. I think he's going to run the ball. I think the Colts are going to score. So I'm taking him to go big against Houston. Who's your number 1? Who's your top quarterback of the week?
So I spoke on this when I was talking about the receivers, but I think this team is going to want to come out and prove this. So, Jalen Hurts is my number 1. That team's going to want to put up points, and you've already alluded to it. So that's my number 1 guy for all the reasons you stated before. And I just think, like you said, he's going to get a couple rushing touchdowns potentially, and I think they're going to want to show they can pass the ball in that offense.
Got it. I'm going to go number 1 QB, Josh Allen. You talked about him already. That's going to be a high-scoring game. He could get into the end zone any number of ways, multiple times. So I've got him locked into my number 1. I think that might be pretty standard on leagues right now.
Seems to be the
so that
consensus.
wraps up our top 5 lists. Let's go to your top sleepers of the week. Give me 3 guys that maybe are on your bench and deserve a start, or guys to pick up. What are you looking for as far as week 1 sleepers?
So actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to give you 4, just 1 at each one of these positions. My wide receiver sleeper is going to be Jackson Smith and Jigba. I see a huge year for the Seattle offense in general, and DK is gonna get Surtain coverage. So I think he's gonna be open all game and be schemed open. He's gonna blow it open. For tight end, I got Tyler Conklin. I don't know how many other receiving threats they have on that Jets team, and Aaron Rodgers loves them some tight ends, and I think you could call this a sleeper, waiver wire, whatever. I think people are going to be scrambling to pick him up after this week. For running back, I have Jerome Ford. He's going to be the bell cow for now for the Browns. I know people were talking about Kareem Hunt and and Deontay Foreman last year. But Deontay Foreman's been dealing with an injury, and there's no Pierre Strong. I'm not really worried about. So Jerome Ford is really going to come out and be their guy. And then to go back to what I just said about JSN, I got Geno Smith as a sleeper for quarterback, and this is a sleeper for all season long. I think he's going to be, for a guy that wasn't drafted, I think he's going to be one of these top streaming QBs and a guy that, I have Anthony Richardson on a team. If he gets injured, I'm looking at Geno, especially to stack with DK and JSN I have on my team. So those are my sleepers for week 1 for sure.
All right, I love it. I'm going to go first with a guy that's a rookie, but I do think he's going to start bringing it week 1, Malik Neighbors. He's obviously on the Giants. I think he's going to get a huge target share. I think the Giants' offense is going to be better than a lot of people think. And I think he definitely deserves a look at for starting if you've got him stashed on your bench somewhere.
He's a
number
stud.
2, we talked about the Bills-Cardinals game already. Somebody's got to score. How about Khalil Shakir? Which Bills wide receiver is going to step up and be the one that Josh Allen's throwing to? I like Shakir. And then third to be Adonai Mitchell, another rookie wide receiver. This one on the Colts. He's a big guy, very strong. He can go over the middle. He can be a last check down option for Anthony Richardson. I think he's got a good chance to get into the end zone. So those are my sleepers for the week. Let me ask you one more question about fantasy before we move on to the games. Who do you think is going to be the week 1 waiver wire pickup? Which means after these games, who's the one guy everybody's going to blow their fat budget on overreacting to week 1? Who is that guy this week?
Well, we went off the classic, who's rostered under 50% in leagues and things like that. So for me, I feel like it's got to be someone like Joshua Palmer, who's just going to be like the wide receiver 1 on that team until, we see potentially Ladd McConkey ascend. I think a lot of people are down on that offense and for good reason, because there's a lot to prove there. And the other thing for under 50% was Chase McLaughlin. Sean Payton loves to throw to his running backs, and they're going to want to help Bo Nix out as much as they can and stuff like that. So I think those two are really going to be the top 2 waiver wire pickups for sure. I have some other guys, but I think those are probably leading the list.
Nice. Let's see. I would say
Jaleel McLaughlin, not Chase. That's the kicker for the Bucs.
There you go.
Jaleel
That was
McLaughlin.
throwing me a minute. I would say one guy that I think is going to be picked up in a lot of leagues is going to be Adam Thielen. I know he might be a little bit above that 50% mark, but I do think he is a guy who always can score you 15, 16 points in any given day. He's going to get his catches. They're going to be chunk catches, and he might score. So I think he's going to be picked up by a lot of guys. I do think Khalil Shakir, who I talked about earlier, he's right at the 50% mark. I think if he goes off like I think he will, everybody's going to be running to spend their money on Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, we talked about Khalil or Curtis at one point. Yeah, it's got to be one of those guys.
I think it's Khalil, but we'll see. So that brings us kind of through the fantasy lookout for the week. Let's take a second here and break down some of the NFL Week 1 games. We'll highlight a few, and then we'll just kind of give our picks on the last few. We've got, starting off Thursday night, Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are favored by 3 at home, defending champs. Can the Ravens do anything to stop them? I know last year the Lions were able to knock the Chiefs off in the first week.
So I think, I'm going to take the over on here. I think Kansas City can actually beat them by significantly more than 3. I just have Baltimore as being in a little bit of a regressive state this coming year. So I think the Chiefs have only gotten better and, maybe not on the defensive end, but on the offensive end, putting up points. And I see the Ravens taking a little step back. I don't even have them winning the division. So, plus 3, I have them, over that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I'll take the Chiefs, and I'm taking them with the points too. I agree. All right, moving on. Let's look at another big game. I know we're kind of not going out of order here, but let's look at Monday night. You've got Aaron Rodgers and the Jets going in to play the 49ers. 49ers favored by 4. They just got Trent Williams back. They're ready to go. The Jets obviously have a quarterback this year. facing off against the guy who hurt him last year on the third play of the game. Who do you think comes out on top on Monday night?
I'm going to take the 49ers. I think, they're the same team they were last year as far as on the offensive end and defensive end. I love what the Jets are going to be doing. Obviously, I have them reaching the Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to be perfect right off the bat. I think that, Aaron Rodgers didn't get much time to play with them last year. So I'm going to, we're going to have to see what Mike Williams comes into play over there. I think the guys, Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, are going to do their thing. But I got the 49ers taking this one.
I'm going to go Jets here. I'll put it this way. Actually, I think the Niners are going to win the game. And I'll take the Jets with the points.
With the points. I agree it's going to be a close game.
But I do think the Niners pull this one out. Again, they've got the experience. They've been there. They're ready. I'll believe the Jets when I see it. How about another big game here? The Texans-Colts. Rematch of kind of that play-in game they had for the playoffs last year. Is this a way the Colts can make a statement? Or do you think the Texans come out and have even improved upon what they started last year?
So I'm going to take the Texans here. I love the possibility of the Colts and the ceiling of the Colts. I just think that, Anthony Richardson has just played so few games, and I don't think that they're as finished a product in week one as the Texans are. I think the Texans are going to just be a little smoother in their continuity and pick up a little bit where they left off. And I think the Colts will have a little bit of figuring it out. I think they're going to want to protect Anthony Richardson a little bit at first, give him easier reads and RPOs and runs and stuff like that. And I think it's going to cap their scoring potential in the short term and then allow him to grow and get more comfort with his receivers and everything as the season goes on. So I have the Texans here.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm going to take the Colts. Colts at home. I think the Texans are looking forward to the whole season, but I do think the Colts want revenge for that game. These teams usually play really close. I might give it to the home field Colts, especially since they're giving up 3 points at home. I'd definitely take them with the points, but I think I'm taking the Colts just to win this game overall.
Wow.
Let's go to the Sunday night game. How about the Rams at the Lions? Who do you like? I know the Lions are favored by 3.5. Who are you taking in Detroit?
So I love both these teams and both these divisions. I said it earlier. I gotta take the Lions. I just think that the Lions are just overall ready for that Super Bowl, like I said, and I just have them coming out right on top. I think it's gonna be a good game, though. I think it's an exciting game, a great game to have on Sunday night. Love the Cooper Kupp Puka thing. I just have the Lions. I mean, I just think, and I would take the points too. I think they're gonna win by more than 4 points, and I think it's gonna be at least a touchdown different game. And I'm going all the way with Detroit this year. So
I love it. I'm gonna go with you there. I like Detroit. I like them with the points. Same thing. I think they're gonna come out hyped. Dan Campbell's gonna have that team ready, and they're gonna, I think, put a lot of points up on the Rams.
And they know it. They know they're right in the Super Bowl window. They know it.
So the rest of these games, let's just go through real quick. We don't have to break them down, but just I'm gonna give you a game. You give me your winner.
Sure.
Green Bay Friday night. Green Bay Packers at the Eagles.
I got the Eagles. I already talked about it. I think they want to make a statement, so I think the Eagles are gonna come out.
I'm gonna go Packers here. I'm gonna go Packers. Let's go to Sunday. Jacksonville playing the Dolphins.
I got the Dolphins. Too much team speed. Jacksonville's got to show me that they can be the first half of last year, not the last. So,
yeah, I got the Dolphins. Hard to win in Miami at this time of year. Steelers playing the Falcons in Atlanta.
This might be a surprising pick. I'm going to take the Steelers. I think the Falcons are going to take more time than people expect. I have them as one of my season-long overall disappointments because they're thinking Super Bowl at this point. But I think they're going to take longer than people expect. It was only the 2020 Bucks that basically did all these free agent acquisitions, were paper champions, and even they struggled for the half of the year. So I think the Falcons are going to take a little bit of time to get together. I know Russell Wilson isn't exactly the most exciting quarterback for the Steelers, but I got the Steelers. Tough defense, taking it.
All right, I'm going to take the Falcons. How about Vikings at Giants?
I have the Vikings here.
All right. I'm
you
going to
know,
go Giants on this one. What about Panthers Saints?
the Saints. They're not a great team, but Panthers have a lot to show, and the Saints defense, one of the most teams with the most continuity in the division. So I'm gonna take Saints.
I'm going to go Panthers here. I'm going to, they bring tears forth in New Orleans. I think, yeah. Let's go Patriots Bengals.
Oh, Bengals for sure.
I'm with you
The
there.
the Patriots are gonna struggle this year. So
I think the real
uh,
question is, are the Patriots going to score 10 points? What about Titans Bears?
I do like the Bears this year, but I just want to say about the Titans. I think people are going to see glimpses of the future for this Titans team. I won't go too far into it, but I like the Bears for this team. But I love what the Titans' future could look like, and I got high hopes for them.
I'm also taking the Bears. No number one pick has ever won his season opener in the last 20 years, I think. I'm betting on Caleb Williams to do it. What about Cardinals versus Bills? We talked about this being a high-scoring game. Who do you think comes out on top?
That's a good question. I still have the Bills. I still think that with James Cook and Dalton Kincaid and Josh Allen, I think they're still gonna do it. Now, Kyler, Kyler and that offense, I think they're gonna put up some points. I think we're gonna see what they can do for the season. But I still got the Bills taking Arizona.
I'm going to take the Cardinals here. I guess my upset of the week, 6.5-point dogs, but I'm going to take the Cardinals. I think the Bills sometimes lately have had trouble getting going at the beginning of seasons, and I think Arizona's finally all healthy and ready to go. I think James Conner's going to play more than people think, or play better than people think, and I'm taking the Cardinals in the upset. What about, we talked
I
about
think that's a
Texans
great
Colts.
pick.
What about Raiders Chargers?
See, this is a good
In
one.
Los
That's a good
Angeles,
divisional
so it's a
matchup.
home game for the Raiders.
I see this one as both teams are kind of being down this year, but I see the Raiders actually taking this. Early in the season, especially with these teams where we don't know, the defense is further along than the offense, and I think the Raiders have a great tough defense. And I think Minshew's going to be able to get Devontae the ball and Zamir White, Isabel Cow, and stuff like that. So I'm going to take the Raiders. I'm going to take defense over offense in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Raiders with that D line for sure. And the Chargers. I never bet on the Chargers, it seems like. I'm going to take the Seahawks to beat the Broncos, although I do like Bo Nix coming up. How about you?
I'm absolutely smashing the Seahawks against the Broncos. They're one of my teams where I think that offense is going to really be primed to explode. And I love Bo Nix from what I've seen in the preseason, but just not in week one. Rookie QB, and he's going up against two extremely talented corners in that secondary of the Seahawks. So I'm taking the Seahawks.
I tell you, you're taking the Buccaneers to beat the Commanders.
Yeah, we just had too much continuity. This team's excited. I'm excited to see Jaden Daniels. He is gonna put up some rushing yards and show flashes of what we've seen. But yeah, this one's another easy one for me. It's the Bucks.
I'm going to take the Commanders in the upset here. I think Jaden makes his presence felt, and I think he's got a game plan to play against, and nobody's seen him yet. So I'm going to take the Commanders. What about the Cowboys at Browns? Probably the biggest late game on Sunday.
So I don't love the Cowboys season long projections, but I'm gonna take the Cowboys here. I'm gonna take the Cowboys here over the Browns. The Browns have the better defense, but I haven't seen anything of note from Deshaun Watson at all. And until I do, I just don't know what their ceiling is.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Cowboys here. I think at the beginning of the year, the Cowboys are always amazing. So I think they're going to look fantastic. I think the Browns defense is good, but I'll take the Cowboys in the upset. I guess that's all of our game picks for the week. Now, normally, Kendall, who is here, he's the head of Kendall's weekly bets and picks that you should make. Got a couple money line parlay plays here. Just if you're placing bets, always do so responsibly. But these are some bets you could put a little bit of money down and maybe make a significant haul. My three-way money line parlay. I'm taking Dallas to beat Cleveland. I'm taking Indianapolis to beat Houston, and I'm taking the Raiders to beat the Chargers. Those three combined are giving me plus 1,000 or so. So you're getting about $100 on your $10. It's a fun play. I think all those teams are going to win. I'm going to go with a parlay of 3 running backs yardage-wise. Jerome Ford, Breece Hall, and Kenneth Walker all need 70 yards to pay out $16.20 on your bet. What do you think there? I know we talked about this. I love Jerome Ford this year. Breece Hall, I know he's playing the 49ers. I still think he gets to 70 yards. And you and I both agree Kenneth Walker could be a beast this year. I definitely think he could top 70 yards this week. What do you like about that one? Or do you like it?
Yeah, we talked about Jerome Ford being a bell cow early on, and I think he absolutely gets 70 yards against that Cowboy defense. Kenneth Walker, I see that game being over by the third quarter some point. So I see heavy running by the Seahawks. And then who was the third one? The third running back? Oh, it was Breece Hall?
Breece Hall, yeah.
He's going to have so much usage, and he's too big of a talent to knock out, even against the 49ers defense. So 70 plus, 70 plus, 70 plus, that's a smash for me. That's a smash except for me.
And then I've got one last bet for the week. It's a touchdown parlay. I need Zeke Elliott to score a touchdown, Jackson Smith-Njigba to score a touchdown, and Kyler Murray to run for a touchdown. Any of those, any time during the game, those 3 guys score touchdowns, it pays plus 38.79. I think Kyler Murray is probably the longest odds on that list, but I really think he gets in there on it with his legs, which happens quite a bit. Jackson Smith-Njigba, you talked about a lot. He's a huge sleeper this year, but I think game 1 he's getting in. And then I think the Cowboys are going to feed Zeke the rock anytime they're near the goal line. They love him. I think they will feed him until they can't anymore. And he is a good short yardage runner if you need those picked up. So I think that's a play you can make. Get almost 40 to 1 on your money and, have some fun out there. But, yeah, this has been Winning Play Podcast, and I am Drew James with my buddy Rob Hueter. We are here every week breaking down fantasy football, breaking down real football, betting. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love your comments, your likes, subscribe, follow us on all socials at Winning Play Pod, and we will see you for week 2. Good luck, winners.